Welcome to the ALCON S2 Daily Update Brief for the 6th November 2023, information cut off 2100. Bottom line up front, widespread violence in Sudan, Israel makes operational gains in Gaza, and the Australian Primeminster is to meet with President Xi Jinping. International coverage, Middle East. Gaza areas of interest update. Hezbollah has targeted several settlements across the Lebanese border with ATGMs, confirming casualties. As a response to the killing of 4 Lebanese civilians, they shelled an Israeli town with 122mm Grad rockets causing direct impacts. Israel has carried out airstrikes and artillery shelling of South Lebanon as a response to these attacks. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited Baghdad to meet with Iraqi PM Mohammed Shia al-Sudani. He left for Ankara after a few hours. The Islamic resistance in Iraq has targeted the US of Tal Baidar in Syria's Hasakah province with 2 suicide drones, as well as the US base in Erbil International Airport. Moving across to Africa, the Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF, have seized the military headquarters in Al Geneina, the capital of West Darfur, amidst allegations of their involvement in ethnic violence in the city. In Khartoum's suburb, over 20 individuals were killed and others wounded when artillery struck a busy market in Omdurman, following clashes between the Sudanese army and the RSF, as reported by Sudan's emergency lawyers. The RSF has now taken control of 3 state capitals in Darfur within 2 weeks, coinciding with ongoing negotiations between the RSF and the army in Jeddah. Analysts comment, the RSF's consolidation of power in Darfur's state capitals, particularly during peace talks, suggests a strategic positioning that could influence the outcomes of the negotiations and the future power dynamics in the region. More than 9,000 people have been killed and nearly 6 million others displaced since the fighting started in mid-April. And moving down to the Indo-Pacific, North Korea. Further to a previous report, South Korean military has claimed that about 2,000 containers of military equipment and munitions were shipped from North Korea's northeastern port of Ryazan to Vladivostok in Russia's Far East. Analysts comment, it's plausible to assess that North Korea may have provided Russia with a range of conventional armaments. These could include anti-tank guided missiles, various small arms, rocket launchers, ammunition for T-series tanks, and there is a possibility of short-range ballistic missiles being part of that package. In return for North Korean military hardware, which would bolster Russian capabilities in the conflict against Ukraine, it is assessed that Russia might offer North Korea technological assistance that could significantly enhance Pyongyang's military and strategic capabilities. This assistance could potentially cover areas such as nuclear weapons development, advanced fighter jet technologies, air defense systems, and military satellite technology. Such an exchange would indicate a deepening of military cooperation between North Korea and Russia, potentially altering the strategic balance in their respective regions. It would also suggest that Russia is seeking to circumvent the limitations imposed by international sanctions and the depletion of its military supplies by turning to North Korea for resupply. In the South China Sea, China has blamed Canada for malicious and provocative moves after a close air mid-air intercept. This comes as a Canadian helicopter experienced a second unsafe interaction with J-11 fighters from the People's Liberation Army Navy, which approached within 100 feet or 30 metres of the aircraft, according to military officials. Analysts comment, as the South China Sea becomes more congested and contested, these events will almost certainly become more frequent. We judge that these events are likely to lead to an eventual miscalculation leading to a flashpoint for future conflict. And finishing off with domestic coverage, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is expected to meet with President Xi Jinping in Beijing, with discussions likely aimed at easing tensions. Analysts comment, it'll be difficult for Albanese and Xi to find common ground, noting Australia's military posture and their ties to the US, all aimed at deterring China. Xi is likely to push for greater access to Australian resources and energy sectors. However, this could be problematic as legislation is in place to disrupt Chinese ownership in critical industry. And moving down to New Zealand. The incoming National Act New Zealand First Party will be holding a number of discussions this week to iron out a workable agreement before the government takes office. In terms of foreign policy, New Zealand's approach to the Gaza conflict and its broader Middle East policy will be a significant challenge for the incoming Foreign Minister, following the Labour caretaker government's period of minimal commentary. The National Party leader Christopher Luxon, who has described the war as sad and tragic, has maintained a pretty balanced stance. New Zealand First leader Winston Peters, a former foreign minister with a history of advocating for an active diplomatic role for New Zealand, and increased engagement in the Pacific may seek the foreign minister role again, or influence its direction, potentially shaping New Zealand's foreign policy towards more engagement and resource allocation, as indicated by his past and recent statements on international relations and defence. That ends the daily update brief for 6 November 2023. If you got value from this, then please like, leave a review, and share it around to others who might also get value from this. Ends.